All right, so today we're looking at adding, subtracting, and multiplying radical expressions, or like expressions with square roots. So on this first example right here, you can see they both have the same square root. They're both the square root of 6. So it's extremely similar to like when we do 3x minus 4x. They're like terms. And we could just do 3 minus 4 and get negative 1x. Well, this is the same type of thing. 3 square root 6 minus 4 square root 6 is negative 1 square root 6. Or if you just want to write negative square root 6, that's okay. So you can add or subtract radical expressions if they have the same square root, the same number inside the square root. Okay, so looking over here at number 2, these two have the same square root. They're both a square root of 17. So you have negative 3 square root 17 minus 4 square root 17. I'm just going to rearrange this. And then I'll just put this plus 2 square root 11 on the end. So you can combine these two with the square root 17s because they're the same square root. So negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Then you have square root 17. You still have plus 2 square root 11, and you can't do anything with that because it's not the same as the other square root. Okay, so looking at number 3, they're not the same square roots, but then this one's a little tricky because you can actually simplify the square root 27. So let's just go out to the side here, and let's simplify 27. 27 is the same as 9 times 3, which is, the square root of 9 times the square root of 3. The square root of 9 is just 3. So 27 is actually 3 square root 3. All right, so 3 square root 3 minus 3 square root 3 is 0, and that's our answer. Let's try another one like that. On number 4, it looks like you can't simplify it, but the square root of 12 can be simplified. So let's just step out to the side here and simplify the square root of 12. It is the same as 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. The square root of 4 is 2. And so it's 2 square root 3. So right here, instead of this square root 12, I can just rewrite it as, instead of negative square root 12, I can rewrite it as negative 2 square root 3. All right, so I'm essentially just substituting that in instead of the square root of 12. So now they're the same square root, negative 2 square root 3s plus 3 square root 3s. It's like negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So it's 1 square root 3. We usually tend not to write that 1 in front, so I'm just going to put square root 3 as my answer. Okay, now multiplying. Multiplying is easier because you can multiply anything. The only difference is you can't combine the numbers unless they are like both in a square root or both not in a square root. So let's look at what I mean by that. Let's distribute this square root of 3. You do 5 times square root 3. But you just have to write it like that. You can't put 15 because the 5 is not in a square root and the 3 is. So you can't just like multiply them. Now let's distribute square root 3 times square root 7. 3 times 7 is 21. And it's okay to multiply those together because they are both in a square root symbol. And the square root of 21 can't simplify, so that is just my answer right there. Okay, so on this one, square root of 5 plus 4 squared. That means you multiply it times itself. So I'm actually going to use the box method to do this. So the square root of 5 plus 4 times the square root of 5 plus 4. Okay, so in this top left box, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is the square root of 25. The next box is 4 square root 5. The next box is 4 square root 5. And then the bottom right box is 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, well, first of all, the square root of 25 is the same as just 5. So what you have is you have 5 plus 4 square root 5 plus another 4 square root 5 plus 16. So let's add everything we can. We can add this 5 and 16 because they don't have any square roots attached to them. So that's 21. We could also add this 4 square root 5 plus 4 square root 5 because they have the same square root. They're both the square root of 5. So 4 plus 4 is 8. So it's 8 square root 5. And so we can write our answer like that, or we can write the square root first. I tend to write it with the whole number in front and the square root second. That's just my preference though. And that is how we multiply.